Hello, I'm Sister Joanna Iannotti, Art and Spirituality Coordinator here at Wisdom House Retreat and Conference Center in Litchfield. We don't have to think too long or too hard about the significant role that our mothers have played in our lives. And this weekend, being Mother's Day weekend, we're fortunate to have a program here entitled The Gift of My Mother, celebrating Anne Morrow Lindbergh. With us today to facilitate this program is the daughter of Charles and Anne Morrow Lindbergh, Reeve Lindbergh. And Reeve is going to share with us aspects of her mother that she experienced growing up as a child, and also memories of her in retrospect as she thinks back on her mother's life. Reeve, as you begin to think about your mother, what attribute of your mother's, do you hold dearest?
I think I would say that what I hold dearest in my mother is her inner strength. And she had great inner and outer strength. She was a remarkable woman in all kinds of ways. She was a pioneer aviator along with my father, her husband. But I think what I value most was an extraordinary gift for life itself and for not just enduring but opening to all that life has to offer. And that is what she gave me. She was very important in the building of the aviation industry. She was one of the most significant and really most brave. Their work was to find air routes where there had been none before. So they would fly over the pole to Japan. They flew to China in flood, when the people who were flooded were absolutely desperate. They flew in relief supplies. They flew all over, well, really all over the world, helping to set up these air routes. And at the time, that happened mainly before she had children, but she of course lost her first child. And then she had my brothers and pretty much stopped flying after, in the late 30s. She flew practically not at all at that point, and she became very much the mother. And she did some writing, but she didn't do a lot. And she then went to Captiva towards kind of the very, I think late, maybe early 50s, I guess it was. Made this time for herself and talked about making time for herself and about how women's lives could be illuminated, made more peaceful, and I don't know that she would say improved, but again, I use the word nourished by solitude, quiet, patience, and what she called intermittency, the comings and the goings of the tide. As I read it now, I think about my father's comings and goings, but I believe she meant more than that you don't have everything all the time, and think about, well, in my case, I have my beloved daughters and my son, and two of them their daughters are married, and the son is in college, and then they all come home, and it's wonderful. And then they go, oh, what are you doing? Sometimes that's wonderful too. But it's a necessary ebb and flow that is something. For a while. I think it's hard to adjust to that, and to feel that that's just fine. That sometimes things will be very intimate and you will have all your family around you. Sometimes things will be scattered and desperate, or in a human relationship, whether it is with a husband, a child, a sister, friend. You may have times that are very connected and intimate, and then there are times when each of you is in a different place, different space, and it doesn't mean it's all over. It means intermittency. Things come and they go, and that's part of the tide, and it's important to recognize that. A few years ago, they unpacked a crate at the National Air and Space Museum that had been associated with the material that was taken in the Lockheed Sirius seaplane with which they flew over the pole to China and hither and yon around the world. And they found, in the crate, they found a number of instruments and equipment and maybe a flying suit. And then they said this was a man named Don Lopez, who was the direct the deputy director of the museum at that time, and he called and he said they found 2 sheets of paper and a beautiful little pressed flower among all those other instruments and things, and that was so like my mother. You know, he would have every little chart and and she would have found and pressed a flower somewhere and saved it. It was just beautiful. My father would not let me bother her if she was writing. And I thought that was so annoying. What did he know? And I remember I once went up to her little house and knocked on the door. And she opened it. Said, "Oh, no, how lovely, dear." I mean, she was not forbidding. But now that I'm in that same position, I think he had to do that because there were 5 of us. You know, we could all go knocking at the door. So, but she wasn't, although not forbidding. Yes, I always, quite often wanted to be with her when she wanted to be home. She always made it sound as though she was just a, just what do you call it, hanger-on, or someone who went along for the ride, or whatever it was. But she wrote beautifully about the aviation, and it was one of her aviation books that, in fact, won the National Book Award, not for the flying, but for the writing. She came to be with us at the very end of her life when she really couldn't be in Connecticut. She was not remembering, who she was or where she was, and she would run away and all that stuff. So, and I think we did not have at that time people who could deal with that. But when she moved to Vermont, we had a group of Buddhist caregivers, and Carol helped to organize that whole group, who did not feel so frantic and worried about her. They didn't call us up in the night and say, "Please tell your mother that it isn't 7 in the morning." I mean, it wasn't so scary for those people, for our Buddhist caregivers, who were gentle and very intelligent and deeply caring, but not so eager to correct her in any way. And I know about correcting her because I used to do that. She'd say, "Are you my sister?" And I would say, no, I'm your daughter, I'm Reeve, I'm the younger daughter, and and it was all about me. That's what it was all about. Because I was afraid. And of course, it is about me. And I think what helped me most was her strength as I was growing up and as I knew her as an adult. It was her strength that helped me to live with her illness and her death. But I had to work very hard with myself. Not in any particularly well-disciplined way, but I had to watch my thinking. Buddhists were a great help for that, because that is very much the mindful watching yourself, watching your thinking, that is part of that discipline and practice. That was, so that's what I wrote about. And I also there were some little times when things were quite lucid, and I will tell you my favorite story, which was absolutely true, and it was about me thinking that I was helping her and being gentle and being the caregiver, even though there were caregivers which she was paying for. I thought, well, I will take her for a ride. I took her for a ride in the country, and we drove across it was Interstate Highway 93, I think it was, from St. Johnsbury to Littleton, New Hampshire, which is beautiful. Just beautiful. It's almost as if you're flying. I thought maybe she'll like that. And I went sort of flying along, and she said, "I'm afraid of dying." And I thought, we got it. I said, "Mother, how is this? What does this mean? Is it feeling infirm or losing your friends or having to leave your family?" And she said, "It's your driving." So you may have to have the response that she received, and to have people feel that she had helped them so much was always greatly nourishing to her. I think it balanced out, in a way, the kinds of deprivations and the kinds of some of the shocks and troubles that came from being catapulted into the world of the famous, which of course she was at a very young age. So I think for her there was a real, the privacy and communication, the dance between the outer world and the inner world were very important to her.